Everybody, welcome. I know we've got up here, it says our week number 3, but this is actually week 11. We've sometimes done 4 weeks at a time and just continuing going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're on week 11, and let's do, as I always do, a quick little review from last week. So you were to find an excess that you were going to cut out for the entire week. One thing. I know for a lot of people, it may be ketchup. Another thing, I know that when we talked about labels, and even today we'll talk a little bit about it, sometimes hot sauce has a lot of sugar in it. If you've got something you're using and it's got a label on it, read it. Sometimes it's creamer in your coffee, sometimes it's cutting out the sugar in your coffee, little tiny things, right? We talked about all of the things that you could have used. Salad dressings are a huge thing for most people, right? If you just use olive oil and lemon juice and some salt and pepper, it's delicious. Your palate will adjust to like clean food. And when you go back to eating the very processed foods, you're going to find it doesn't taste good. And that'll also come into, we talked about fats last week, and to pay attention to the fats, and it was to change one fat source. You know, and I think that, I don't know, there's lots, but I mean the 2 biggies would be margarine and peanut butter for some homes where it's the hydrogenated vegetable oil in it. You've got to try and get that out. Your family will be much healthier if you do. Margarine is a big one, and that hydrogenated vegetable oil and peanut butters. And then we talked about a compliment journal and how well you've done up to now. Even if you haven't lost the fat or even the inches, you know, the number on the scale hasn't changed like you wanted it to, what you've been doing has been fantastic. You have to realize that. It's a step in the right direction. It just, you might be wanting things to happen more quickly than your body's going to allow it. And you have to accept that. You may have been punishing and abusing your body for a very long time. So we have to be patient with it. But you do know if you've made positive changes, and those are the things we focus on. All right, let's go into this. Let's see. Week 11. Okay, so I've got a couple of things that we talk about here is processed carbs, and I'm going to talk a little bit about fiber. I love that picture there with the carrots and the carrot cake, and we're going to talk about processed carbs and fiber. Right, so what we've got there, we've got the bran muffins, and then you've got jelly donuts, the fruit and fiber snack, right? It's crazy what marketing does to us, right? Those jelly donuts do not have any fiber in them. But let's go on and get into what all of this is. So I do call this the carbohydrate conundrum. Some of you may have heard about it. Maybe you guys aren't. For me, it certainly was as I got more into understanding what a paleo diet was about and losing fat and weight, and that carbohydrates for most people are the one factor that has to be addressed and changed in their diet. It is causing them to gain more and more and more weight, be hungrier and hungrier, never feeling satisfied. Now, I've had to learn a lot about carbohydrates as an athlete and fueling my body correctly. So we talked about that way back in, I think, week 5, and understanding the fuel tanks, and that we need carbohydrates as a fuel source, the right kind of carbohydrates. This is the problem today for most people, is they're putting carbohydrates in their body that truly are poisoning their system. So let's talk a little bit more about this. So here, you know, that book, this is a book, it's called The End of Overeating, and I love that picture, right, because that carrot cake and then the carrots, right, how many times have we not maybe chosen carrot cake because we've talked ourselves into it being something healthy, right? But, you know, eat the carrots, right, that natural state, and one is in that state of processing. And here's my question again, right, do I have to stop eating carbohydrates? You know, the answer is, for a period of time, it won't hurt you, right, to cut them out. But again, you're not going to cut out vegetables, and you don't have to cut out all fruit, but even fruit has to be limited. It's very high in sugar, right? So you won't cut out all carbohydrates, right? The vegetables, you know, and here, look, you know, we're not talking here about Wonder Bread. That's probably a carbohydrate you need to cut out. But there are carbohydrates, and they're called complex carbohydrates, but they're more, you would consider them more natural state, right? Like sweet potatoes, brown rice, even white rice, and there's rice pasta, right, that you can buy where it's not floured pasta, that are very good. Even, I've introduced oatmeal as a very healthy carbohydrate. Now, even a banana, very high in sugar, but it's more of a, I guess, it's a little different, right? It's like, I'm not sure I even call it a starchy fruit, but it's not juicy like some fruits, right? So it gives your body a different type of energy. But those are things that we need around being active. And the right timing of those carbohydrates in our day is very important, okay? So deciphering this carbohydrate conundrum, what do you need to know? Well, carbohydrates are a source of energy, right? The other source of energy is the fat tank. Okay, so we need to use both, and we want our body to be able to flip between the two sources very comfortably. So it's the quality of your carbohydrate that is going to make or break your weight loss success. What I've put up here is from a book called Why We Get Fat by Gary Tobes. This is an excellent book. Now, if your goal in reading this book is simply to be told the answer to the question, what do I do to remain lean or lose the excess fat I have? Then here is the answer. Stay away from carb-rich foods. And the sweeter the food, or the easier it is to consume and digest, like beer, fruit juice, sodas, I'll even put wines in there, they're probably the worst. And the more likely it is to make you fat. Like carb-rich foods will be all processed sweet breads and cakes and, all the, like pastas, right? Carb-rich foods, right? Meaning starchy rich foods. But again, remember, there are some of the good ones that you do. Like oatmeal isn't sweet unless you put a bunch of brown sugar or maple syrup or white sugar in it. Oatmeal isn't sweet, right? Sweet potatoes aren't sweet, right? But they're a very starchy, carbohydrate rich source, right? So I hope that this is making some sense. Right, and I mean, like here, like the broccoli, right? We're the good guys, and the donuts going, we're the bad guys. It's even hard for the carbohydrates to figure all this out, right? But what does the market do for us today, right? The food industry wants us to buy their food, right? So they market to us in a way to tap into us even wanting to be healthier. All right, so blueberries. On the market, you're going to have blueberry muffins or turnovers, right? You might choose those thinking it's a healthier choice. It's not. Just leave them on the shelf. Don't pick up the muffins, right? There are some sources of muffins that can be made, and I would probably suggest making them at home and looking for really healthy recipes on the internet where the sugar is cut back. The fats are healthy fats. They're not made with margarine, right? And, you can see the calorie and the fat content and the sugar content to be very careful. Pumpkins. Okay, so, not everybody eats pumpkin soup, but pumpkin is a squash, and it is very healthy for us. But right today, we have Starbucks in Canada. I think you have them in the U.S., but, a pumpkin latte. I'm like, man, that cup of pumpkin latte is so packed full of calories and sugar. Do not think that's a healthy choice. Sweet potatoes. Well, today you can buy now sweet potato chips, right? Those are not the healthy alternative. They're as bad as eating a dill pickle potato chip, right? Don't do it. Just go to the sweet potatoes. Put put a little bit of olive oil in a bag and shake up your sweet potatoes with some salt and pepper and bake them. That's healthy, right? There's a real good healthy alternative. Your ground hamburger, right? But instead, we want to buy the ready boxed hamburgers. If you turn them over and look at them, you're going to see sometimes there's sugar and carbohydrates in the hamburgers. Those are two things you should not find in a protein source, right? So buy the ground hamburger and just mix your own hamburgers up, right? Take that little extra time. It makes quite a difference to what's happening in your body. Unsweetened yogurt with fresh fruit, right? But then there's the fruit on the bottom yogurt or even the frozen yogurt. Again, you've really got to watch the labels, right? And the amount of sugar that is being put into those things versus buying the plain natural yogurt and adding a little bit of fruit. Get yourself detoxed off of the sweet. I had to. It was really tough, right? But you can do it. And then you will tolerate less of those things, So here, let's say you have a few nuts, you buy some pumpkin seeds, even some sesame seeds, a little bit of coconut, maybe you have very few dried fruit pieces thrown in there, right? That's a very healthy type of trail mix. You make it yourself, right? But we all buy granola bars. Leave those things on the shelf. They're not a healthy alternative for our children, right? If you really compare it with like a chocolate bar, the sugar's probably as much, and you're maybe getting a tiny little bit of fiber in the granola bar. It just is outweighed by all of the other things you're getting in there that you don't need, right? I think I have one more, like that. Oh, again, I have oatmeal. But if you're buying the packaged oatmeal, like the Quaker flavored quick oatmeal, again, read the label, man. They pack it full of sugar that you don't need. Right, so those processed foods are really what we want to stay away from. Go back to the natural source as much as you can. Right, so here's a little rule about a carbohydrate, right? If it can sit on the shelf for a long time, it's going to sit in your body for a long time too. Our bodies can't use some of those processed foods, like what is actually done to them and what's put into them, the additives. Just doesn't go well in our system. Okay, so I like that one. All right, this is fun. This guy, his name is Jack LaLanne, and I'm, from the time where I remember this guy a little bit, there's a picture of him at 30 years old. And this over here, he's 85 years old, still doing his fingertip push-ups. And this man, look him up. He was crazy fit in the time, right? But one of the things he is famous for saying is, if man made it, I don't eat it. And if you think about living like that, right, that would be a pretty clean diet. If and there are some things that man has made that are good for us, right? We know there's some great, foods out there that maybe are, trying to think, right? Some of the things, protein powders and shakes, they're very convenient, right? Like our NutriFuel, very convenient source of food, man made it, but it's a pretty clean and lean source as an example, right? But think about that. If you bought it in a container and it's not in its natural state, man probably had a hand in processing it, and you'd want to let it go, put it back on the shelf, right? So this man, it was great, and he had a long, long, healthy life. Again, fun to look him up and read a little bit about him. Okay, so processed foods. If you do, again, a little rule, if you buy it in a bag or a box, it's processed, right? Look at that, like pure protein in the box and all the mixes. I love those mashed potatoes in a box. Are you kidding me? Right? Now, if it comes from the ground or a tree, it's a better carbohydrate. Right? But again, fruits, just thinking about the fruits, again, you would probably limit yourself to one fruit a day. Just kind of a rule. And, again, berries are probably the best fruit to stick to. Apples are great. Again, after a workout, I'll have a banana, or it sometimes is before my workout. These are actually yams, I believe, these big things, and the bright orange color, they're yams. They're not a sweet potato. And, of course, avocados, it's a fruit, but it's an amazing source of fiber and some protein and fats, right? No carbohydrates in it. Lovely, okay? Digestive health. So let's talk a little bit about. So if you look at the picture, you are looking at your digestive system. Now, this is really cool. When you talk about our digestive system, from where food goes in your body to where it leaves our body, that digestive tract is 30 feet long. Can you believe that? 30 feet long from where that food travels. Do you think it's important to keep it clean and working well? Absolutely. A lot can go wrong in that 30 feet wrapped up in our body, right, where it doesn't feel good. And that a lot of times, if you'll go to, let's say, a naturopath doctor or an osteopath, the very first thing that they're going to look into would be digestion. And because often when we can heal digestion in our body, our metabolism improves, everything improves, people actually start losing some weight very naturally. It's a side effect. It's a side effect of taking care of that. So digestion affects many things, right? First of all, weight loss and your metabolism or maintaining your weight, your energy. If you're not absorbing all the nutrients that you're putting into your body because your digestive system is all glued up and it's not working, well, your energy is going to be affected because you're not getting what you need to feed your body. Skin, right? The detoxing process also happens, right, all throughout your digestive system where it's separating what your body can't use to what you need, right, and eliminating all of what we need, right? All of that is healthy detoxing, and they'll say 90% of skin conditions start from inside, not outside. People try to put so much on their skin to heal it up. Just change your diet and watch your skin improve, right? Change your diet, watch your skin improve. And then, of course, your immune system, right? If you're sick a lot, often there'll be something going on digestively for you as well, that it's not quite working very well. Your immune system is all affected by what goes on there. So it's kind of important that we understand that our digestive system has to be working really well. All right, going into digestive health a little bit more. The macronutrients, remember there's the food groups and then there's the macronutrients. The macronutrients are protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Micronutrients are all your vitamins, minerals, herbs, and trace elements. What are the two macronutrients that Americans are most deficient in? You probably know, protein and fiber, right? Those are our two. Now, actually, so the macronutrients, I said protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Fiber is part of carbohydrate, and I'm going to explain why that is. It's because fiber comes from plants. You don't get fiber from any of your animal sources. Fiber is only from plants. So it's actually part of a carbohydrate, but a lot of health professionals today are saying fiber is so important, we should call it a macronutrient. So we're really deficient in fiber because of the type of carbohydrates we're choosing to eat. They're all processed, and the fiber is often taken out of them. And when the fiber is taken out of them, they're easily digested, like Gary Tobe said before. You want to stay away from those things. Okay, so hunter-gatherers, our ancestors, right, they ate about 12 pounds of plant food per day, and that was about 100 grams of fiber. That's crazy, right? Today, the average North American, right, takes in, I'm going to go back on that, takes in probably about 10 to 12. Right? Today, if you guys are going to go through and you're going to look at the fiber you're eating, because we're so far into this, 11, if you've made the changes, hopefully you're getting more fiber. We should be getting around 25 to 30 grams of fiber today. That's what most of us need. But the average today is like half of that, 10 or 12. Crazy, right? But thinking about that, right? 12 pounds of plant food a day because they hunted and what they could hunt and gather is what they ate. 100 grams of fiber. Crazy. My digestive system would explode if I put 100 grams of fiber in it. Okay. So there's no fiber in the protein or the fat, right? That's what I had said. So fiber doesn't come from, and where does it not come from? Where does it come from? All right. It only comes from plant sources, which is the structural part of the plant, right? The part that holds the plant up, gives it structure, is where the fiber is. So if you think of orange juice, the entire structure of the orange has been taken away. So orange juice has all the fiber removed. I think sometimes they put pulp back into it now, which might give you a little bit of fiber. I'm not really sure. I don't drink juice, right? But think about that. When the structural part of the plant is taken away, let's say juice and wine, the fiber has been removed from it, okay? Now, we have two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble. Right? So when you think about it, soluble will dissolve in water, insoluble will not, right? So I got this a little mixed up. Sorry. So soluble. So with this one, that one it dissolves and it forms this gel in the digestive system. So it actually makes you feel full, and it prevents your body from absorbing sugar. That's what the slow glucose absorption is. It slows down our body from absorbing all the sugar, right? And that means it prevents fat from being stored. What, right? How crazy is that? It's very important to be getting our fiber. Now, the insoluble fiber, the stuff that can't dissolve, this one just speeds up the transfer of food. It creates some bulk in the system, and it helps us be regular, right? Helps us poop. So it prevents the constipation because it does trap the water and just kind of helps things moving through the system, right? Creates that bulk. So very important. We need both types of fiber, right? But you can't think that you have to track that. You just need to eat a variety of foods, right? So I've got some labels up here. I do want you to read some labels so that you're looking at the fiber that you're getting, right? Again, what are we eating? And, you know, I've got some broccoli up here, and I've got some strawberries, and I can't remember what this one is that I have up here. But I do want you to look at some labels for the fiber that you're reading, right? What's important to understand about fiber is that in a book that I read, right, called The Paleo Diet, vegetables, you know, most of the time when we think about fiber, you're going to think about eating whole grains, right? But when you compare how many calories you're getting to the fiber you're getting, vegetables, fruits probably have 3 to 5 times more fiber. Vegetables have 7 times more fiber than your whole grains when you take calorie for calorie to the amount of fiber you're getting. So you're going to get way less calories with the same amount of fiber by getting your fiber from vegetables and then some fruits. So don't think when you need to get more fiber, you need to eat a ton of more oatmeal or grains, right? That's not the best place to get them. Get it from, you know, the vegetables. Eat more vegetables, all right? So let's go into this week. What should you be doing? So just for this week, here again, it's no processed foods. Like, I know that's a tough one, but, and I'm not saying you do this with your whole family has to do it. You can if you want, but for yourself, try and really take out the processed foods. I know a lot of people, when I see their, you know, their food journals, they'll have granola bars or protein bars or a yogurt cup. You know, really just take it and eat fresh yogurt, like no sugar yogurt with some piece of fruit in it. Take the granola bars out. Eat some protein, right? Eat something natural at that time. You know, I know it's not an easy thing to do, but I'm only asking you to do it for 3 days. You know, if you want to do it for the whole week, maybe for 3 days, right? And you can then this week look at how much fiber you're getting. Are you now still at the 10 grams of fiber in a day? But what I don't want you to do is in one day bump it up to 20 or 25. Increase it slowly so that you've got 25 grams of fiber by the end of the week. And I will post something on our site about fiber for everybody to have a look at. It would actually be in our files section as well. You can go and see a document on fiber. All right, guys. Wonderful. Thank you for showing up this week. Remember, you can always grab your skinny, your fuel, or your energy. Just get with your coach and ask them about that. And we'll have week 12 coming up for you next. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks so much.